This week on the Baseline Podcast, Josh and I are talking about some of the big things happening this week in sports. We're going to break down a little bit about what we think is going to be happening with the NFL draft. We're also going to be talking about some baseball news going around the MLB, talking about the Reds, the Guardians, and so much more. And then also, we're going to talk about what does the Nico and his brother Madden mean going to UCLA, breaking away from their agreements. What does this mean for the long haul for the transfer portal? All that and so much more coming up. Baseline Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to the episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben, that's Josh, and here we are. It is the end of April. We're in the last full week of April as we're recording this, which means quite a few things are happening. One, we had Easter. Hope all of your Easters was great. But it means the NFL draft is here. We have NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. We have baseball underway. We have college football craziness, which it's always like this. NFL craziness, obviously. So a lot of things are happening. But before we get into that, I do want to start out by saying our condolences to those who are of the Catholic faith. That obviously the Pope passed away. Which, by the way, Josh, it's crazy that it happened the day after Easter, which is just mind blowing in my mind. Kind of crazy to
That's
think
one
about.
thing, yeah. Everybody's talking about how it was like a day after he met JD Vance is the one coincidence.
How about we just talk
that I'm
about the
hearing
Easter
over and
thing?
over.
Yeah, how about we
Right,
just talk about the fact that it
right.
was Easter?
Over that
It is
weekend.
wild. But obviously I know it means a lot to a lot of people. And I know he's meant a lot to people around the world. But with that being said, Josh, how are you doing? How was your Easter weekend? And are you feeling a little relaxed, a little bit? The nice spring weather's here. How are you feeling?
I'm looking forward to. I got to spend a little bit of time outside when we were having some sunny days. I know that's going to make me feel a lot better being a night shift guy. I've already yawned, I think, 3 times since we've started recording this, and that was from sleeping about 7 hours before this. But yeah, sun just gives me energy. I'm looking forward to it. The weekend. Spent some time watching some pretty good baseball games. Was at church. Our church has a early morning service at 7, so that
Those are
was really
joyous.
nice. Not a lot of people go to that one, but for me, it works out great with the way that
Your
I sleep
schedule,
because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm getting out of there around the time that I would be going to bed from a work day. So that was great. And slept a ton. So I wasn't really awake for most of Easter Sunday, like I said, but still was able to get into a good service. Was able to watch some fun baseball games over the weekend that we can talk about. But that was how mine was. How's over in Hungary,
It
Ben?
it was good. You know, the nice thing about Easter is it ties into over here, at least they tie it into spring break a lot. And so my current school, obviously, it tied into spring break. So I'm in spring break right now, which Josh, we know as just as students and me as a teacher, it's just a great time in the spring because we basically went without a break for like 4 months. So it's kind of nice to have a break. But here in Easter, here in Hungary, it's also they celebrate Monday as well. So it's like Easter Monday. So really, it's like Friday through Monday. So yeah, we went to a Friday night service, which was great, and then obviously did the Sunday service. We don't have an early morning service. There are some churches that do. We don't. But no, it was great. I enjoyed it. Caught up on some baseball highlights, caught up on some other things, chores, because spring break you're supposed to relax, right, Josh? But no, that's not how it works, right? So, but no, it was a great time, and specifically, I know we're going to talk about some baseball. There's some things happening in baseball, and why don't we start off there, Josh, and talk about some things that have been going on in baseball recently?
Yeah, I'd actually like to start talking about your Reds
Oh
because they
yes,
were
baby.
the
Oh
topic of a
yeah,
lot of conversation. I think they scored the most runs they have in a game since
98, 98.
90 98,
Yeah,
and that was, I think, their largest margin of victory since 1911 or
yeah.
something
It was
way about
nuts.
over 100 years ago. We saw Ellie make the insane like
That
diving
was
catch over
unreal.
at
That
short,
was
which
unreal.
it's just like, yeah, that's a guy that
That's
you
what happens
need
when
to
you're six foot
extend. That's
six.
one of the freak athletes. Yeah, when you got a wingspan like that and you can jump and you can run like that, like just incredible athleticism. But then I think they only scored 4 runs the rest of that series. So it was like just typical Reds
It's
this
typical
year. Just
Reds. Oh,
you
it's
never
typical
know what
Reds.
version you're gonna
And
get, but you're
especially
gonna
when the
get
two guys, the 8 and 9 holes, are the two guys that actually did all the damage, which is just funny to me. It's like the two guys you didn't expect to do the damage.
yeah. So that was some things that I saw from the Reds, and it's just one of those things again where it's like, yeah, you this Reds team's got some potential, but like most younger teams, there's some inconsistency there. And if this team's ever gonna push for the division like we think they can, they're gonna have to because it's turning out that the Cubs look like they're gonna have one of the better offenses in the league and one of the better batting orders, and that's gonna be probably what I would guess a two-horse race in that division. But then again, Ben, can't count out Milwaukee either. They look like they got some of those moments too, where they just seem to
Yeah.
put it together some days and others not so much.
And the Pirates and Cardinals are just slipping every single day. So, I mean, the thing about the
Yeah,
frustrating about the Reds, if you look, they have like a plus 30 run differential, and yet they're third place in the division. Like, that's just such a Reds thing. It happened last year. They were like plus 15 at the end of the year. Like, their offense is always contributing. You know, the thing I've always been frustrated about Dela Cruz, and I've said this, he's an amazing player. He's a guy that I think will make a lot of money either with the Reds or someone else. You know, he's got like 8 home runs. He's got 23 ribbies. He's already up to 10 stolen bases in like the last, he was at two like 10 games ago. Um, my frustration, he strikes out a lot. And like, if you look at these Reds averages, it's like 240, 210. They have, I mean, Spencer Steer's hitting like 128. Candelario's hitting like 110, right? Like, so to me, it's like, Gavin Lux has been a steal. Him and Austin Hayes have been two steals they got in the offseason. I mean, both those guys are raking right now. But you take those guys away, and why is your backup catcher hitting 500 right now and has the second most RBIs on the team, and he barely plays, right? Like, where is the rest of the offense? And that's what worries me because right now the pitching's doing pretty well, not great, but pretty well. But you know what happens with the Reds? I say this every year. They'll like go through these stretches where then the pitching's going to suck. So it's like I know they're young, but it's also like you've got to be able to turn this corner. And I believe in Terry Francona, but the nice about the NL Central is the Cubs, yeah, they're winning, but they're still only 2 games back of the first place. So I'm not worried right now. It's just we'll see what happens.
yeah, that was the other thing I was going to point out is the Cubs. Like I said, they're winning the division. They look like they got some bats that are on fire, but yeah, at the same time, still just a couple game lead there right now. But we are early, so we'll see how much that ends up changing things. But lot to like from Cleveland, my team, over the weekend. They got the sweep over at Pittsburgh. They were able to beat Paul
Pittsburgh's
Skeens.
bad, by the way. Pittsburgh's bad.
They are.
They're so
And that's another thing why that's kind of the other side of it is we got the sweep, but it's like
You
it
guys have been
was
playing some bad teams, by the way. You guys have been playing some bad teams.
well, that's about to change. We got
I know, I know, I
a
know.
series with New York right now, then we got to play Boston, and then I think we got the Orioles and the Twins,
That's a tough
maybe.
stretch right there.
It will be. It'll be a tough one, but yeah, that's why I say it's like we swept the Pirates,
Teams
which
you
is nice
should.
and
The team
all,
you should.
but it's a team we should, and I didn't really like the fashion that we were winning games in. It's like I think it should be a little more convincing. It shouldn't come down to things like tapping a guy out that's trying to call timeout because he's got an injured shoulder, those kind of things. But bright
What
spots
about
were,
McKenzie? What about McKenzie? What do you feel about that DFA and McKenzie? I was interested to hear your thoughts on that because I know he's a fan favorite.
yeah, fan favorite. Everyone says what a great guy he is, but I think that it was necessary and the right call, and I was hoping for this earlier in the year. Just doesn't ever seem to be the same dude since he had that injury,
'Cause
and
he had a good
he
year. Didn't he have a
decided,
good year like a few years ago? He was pretty solid.
yeah, something that would have made you think that this guy's going to be a top 10
Super
starter in this
skinny
league
dude.
someday. Yeah,
Super
yeah,
skinny.
taller, lankier, skinnier guy. Yeah, I'll go ahead and tell you what kind of a season that was not too long ago that he had.
So I
It
was a little shocked because
was,
I didn't realize like that was a thing that people were talking about. I didn't know that everyone was because I guess it's like a lot of people are relieved. I guess at this decision.
yeah, so it was 2022. He went 11-11, so the record wasn't fantastic, but the ERA was 296 across 191 innings. He had 190 strikeouts. Uh, um, yeah, that was just a few years ago. And
What
then
do you think
after
switched? What do you think switched for it? Do you think it was injuries? Do you think it was just
it was injuries, and then the way that he decided to go about it, he did not do Tommy John surgery, and we
that
see
screws you
guys
over,
come
man?
back.
That screws you over.
It's a scary surgery, but we see guys come back from it sometimes stronger, back to their normal self. We've seen Shane Bieber come back from big surgeries and looked exactly the same as before, but Mackenzie just decided not to do that, and it's affected his mechanics, it's affected his velocity, and he's just not the same guy. They were trying him out of the bullpen, and that didn't really work out. His ERA is over 11 right now, so designate him for assignment, and I think it was definitely the right call. Something necessary there. Got to get some
Yeah.
consistency in that bullpen. And the other thing, Ben, that I don't know if you've been picking up on is Cade Smith's been coming into the closing role a couple
Yeah, I
times.
saw that. I saw that.
Uh, Clase still has not figured things out just yet, but I'll go ahead and list off Cade Smith's, I guess.
Was it a one-off year for Class A? Do you feel like it's a one-off year where he had a good year and he's
It can't be
downhill?
because the season before I think he led the American League in
He did.
saves.
Yeah.
He had a lifetime ERA under 3. Like it wasn't. I mean, the season where you allow 5 earned runs in a whole
Do you think
season
they
is
overpitched
absolutely
him last
insane.
year? Do you think they overpitched him last year and he just kind of he's still like you know what I mean? Because I've seen that before where relievers year to year if they've been overworked or they're doing multiple innings in a when you know because he's not a stamina guy. He's not a guy that's going to go out for 3 innings. So
Yeah,
I just wonder if that is.
they were using him a little irregularly in the playoffs too when he was doing bad. Like he never came in like the middle of an inning. Like he was coming in sometimes the middle of the eighth, and he would always just come in at the start of the ninth. Or if he was to go multiple innings, it'd be at the start of the eighth. Like he never was coming in the middle of the innings with runners on. And I think that just was unfamiliar territory. It totally threw him off his rhythm.
Yeah.
And so now we got Klaus out here with 3 saves, but or 4 saves, excuse me, which leads the team. But his ERA right now at the moment is still not in an area that you want to be in. It's 784.
Whew.
Uh, And because of some of these blown save situations that he's been in, I think he also has 3 wins, if my memory serves. Yes, he's 3-0, which is funny to say when you're closer. That's usually not a
It's not a
good
good
thing when your
thing. Yeah.
closer's 3-0 and's got an ERA over 7. So we've put Cade Smith there a couple times, and Cade was one of our
Mr.
dominant relievers
Consistent.
last year as a rookie. But yeah, his ERA is 138 right now. I feel a lot more confident with him in that role, but I don't think the team by any means has given up on Clase, but something's got to be figured out there eventually.
Yeah.
Someone else that seems to be coming around for us is Louis Ortiz, one of our off-season acquisitions from Pittsburgh. Uh, the totals still don't look that great right now. He's 2-3 with a 5.96 ERA, but just to give some perspective, his first start this year was what was it? First start of the year was 6 innings, allowed 3 runs. Second one was against Kansas City, 5 2/3, allowed 1 earned run, and then Pittsburgh, 5 innings of work there and 2 earned runs. So it's getting better. The first start of the year was the terrible one. That was back in March against the Padres, where didn't even make it full 5 and allowed 7, but in his 3 starts since, he's allowed 3 earned runs or less. He's made it at least 5 innings every time. So maybe there's some adjustments that need to be done there
And so
and
is your
coming around.
catcher still hitting under 200, right? That's the classic
Probably
Guardians thing.
I can go ahead and tell you what Naylor's hitting right now.
Because the Reds right now have a catcher hitting 500 and another catcher hitting like 140. So, we like to even it out a little bit.
Yeah, Naylor's hitting 192
Dude,
and Hedges hitting
it's I
143.
think it's just like a Guardian thing. Like it's just like you have to sign the contract and say like if you get to 200, we're cutting you. Like you're not allowed to play for us
Or
anymore.
switching positions or
Does that
something.
ever
Yeah.
frustrate you though? Like as a fan, like just seeing your catchers just absolutely suck at hitting?
Yeah, knowing that like they're gonna go up to the plate and they're gonna be absolute non-factor, but we're convinced that or they try to convince us that they're good players because they're now and then they throw out a guy that steals second or something like that. I
I
hate it,
just
but
like
It's how they decide to do things, so it's
The Reds
whatever.
and Guardians have always had like they haven't had good catchers in years. Like the Reds and Guardians always have dudes that just fill in the Stevenson's hurt all the time for the Reds, and I just feel like the Reds like the last time the Reds had a good catcher was David Ross maybe like maybe that was the best catcher
Mm.
we've had in the last Devin Mesoraco had one good year, but like I don't ever remember the Guardians and Reds having those dudes that are like, oh yeah, these catchers are going to be raking this year. It
Yeah.
just doesn't happen.
The other bright spot in the lineup lately is Kyle Manzardo. Home run
Dude,
off
his
Paul
stash is
Skeens, and
amazing, by the way.
I hate it, but that's a
I love it. I think it looks
yeah. I
phenomenal.
guess it's a preference thing, but Manzardo drilled a home run off Skeens this weekend, dude, into the river out
People
in
are starting to
Pittsburgh,
figure him
Abbey
out, by the way.
Stadium.
People are starting to figure out Skeens, if you've noticed. They're slowly starting to figure him out.
I wonder because he's not at least not his dominant self, but even still saying that his ERA is under 3. Uh, I don't know what his overall record is right now, but
I mean, he's
yeah,
also on a
it's
bad
not
team, so that doesn't help.
doesn't help. Yeah, uh, Manzardo though's got 7 homers right now. That's tied for sixth in the league right now. Uh, Cal Raleigh and Soderstrom from the A's lead the league with
Yeah, well,
9 homers right
if I
now.
played in the A's ballpark, of course I'd have 9 home runs. Gosh, it's like 330 to center. Like, geez.
Brent Rooker's got 7 too. That's
That's
another
what I'm
A.
saying. Like you can clobber them out of there.
Hey, the A's are 10 and 13 right now.
You just had to get out of that place of Oakland, man. You just had to get out of there.
Yeah, it's still like a losing record right now, but it's they look at least a little more exciting. They just
I mean, the White
called up
Sox are
their
trash.
yeah.
That
They just
Kurtz, by
called
the way,
up
they called up. Kurtz that called up. He's 6'7", by the way. He's a massive human.
That's what I was just gonna say is like they called up their first round pick from last year,
He's a massive
Nick
human.
Kurtz. Yeah. Gotta be careful how you say his full name. But
Yeah, I know. That's yeah. Don't want
some
to say that too fast.
one of these commentators is gonna say it too fast and then they're gonna get flack and it's like he obviously didn't mean that word. It's just like
Well, you know, this is the way it works.
that's the way it works though, yeah. So you almost gotta like go with Nicholas Kurtz every time
Yeah, I
just to
know.
like save face.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I'll tell you another fun guy that I like watching this year, and that's Fernando Tatis Jr. Glad to see him back, leading the Padres in pretty much every offensive statistic. He's hitting 333 right now with 406 on base percentage, 8 home runs, 17 RBIs. His WAR is already over 2.1. Looking like an early favorite for MVP, along with Kyle Tucker. Corbin Carroll looks like he's having a bounce back year from the sophomore slump last year. That could be a fun race to be keeping an eye on in the National League.
Yeah. No,
But Ted,
it's gonna be fun, man. This is gonna be a fun baseball season.
I think it's going to. It's definitely shaping up that way. We had our moments last year, but uh, yeah, we'll see who ends up being the guys that stand out this year. We'll see the milestones that come of this. We'll see who can maybe be pushing for those 40-40 numbers. I'll tell you one guy that didn't expect to see here uh is do you know who leads the league in stolen bases right now, Ben?
Is it Terang?
Trang's got 8, he's third. Ellie De La Cruz second with 9, and
No, he's
O'Neill
at 10
Cruz.
now. He's at 10 now. Dela
Okay,
Cruz.
this was as of I think yesterday. Uh O'Neill Cruz is in the lead right now. So if Ellie just got his 10th, then yeah, tied for the lead with O'Neill
Two dudes that
Cruz
are 6'6".
got 10. Yeah,
Like two 6'6" dudes are leading stolen bases.
yeah. Yeah, at least in the Cleveland series, O'Neill was sitting in the leadoff role. I don't know if that's something that he's been doing most of the season, but taking advantage of the times that he is getting on base, he's obviously a freak athlete himself. And then what was the other number that I wanted to point out? Um, just the way that Aaron Judge is just continuing to mash, dude. Hitting 411 right now this season. OPS over 1.2. 7 home runs, so he's tied for 6th in that category. Leads the league in RBIs with 25. This guy
And yet the
just
Yankees
doesn't
will
seem to be
still not
slowing
win the
down.
World Series. And they still won't win the World Series. It's just a fact. It's just a fact.
At least right now they're first in their division, but it still doesn't look like the team that had Juan Soto last year. Like that, and then they aren't going to have Garrett Cole this year, so that's a starter that they're going to be short on. But they still look like a good team. I think they'll be back in the postseason. They'll be one of those main contenders, but it's definitely not the squad people thought they're going to be when they initially were playing Milwaukee and the Torpedo Bats were, all the craze and at
That's died
15 and
off.
10, 15 and 10 still a solid record. Right now it's tied for second best record in the American League as far as win percentage goes. Rangers are 14 and 9, then the Tigers and the Yanks are 15 and 10. Who would have thought the Mets would be posting the best record in the National League at this point, even in Juan Soto's struggles. But that's because they got one of the top starting rotations in the league. That was something that I didn't see coming with just losing guys like Luis Severino. Uh, and then they're going to try to make Clay Holmes a starter. And I think I just seen today that Diaz, their closer, had to leave the game with injury. We'll see how bad that ends up being for them. But even still, the Mets are figuring things out here. Like I said, got the best record in the National League right now, and that's with Juan Soto hitting 233 right now.
Yeah. It's one of those things too. I think this year you're starting to see this new age of ball player, right? Like the new age, this new generation, sorry, of ball players. I think, which makes it more fun. I think we saw it 2 years ago. We started seeing the light was showing on these young guys, and now we're starting to see these young guys, go out there and play. Like it's a tough thing I think for people like me who I've grown up around the game and I know the names, and now I like look at a game and I'm like, I don't know half these guys, right? Like I need to go do my research, right? Like, and that's a good thing, right? Because there's change and obviously new players are coming through. But at times remember I like watched a highlight video of like it was like 2011 Cincinnati Reds, and I was like, dude, all these dudes are like 48 now, like they're like retired and like doing life. So I guess that's what's just exciting for me. Like, yeah, like there's some of the stars are struggling, some of the stars are doing great, but now you have these new guys coming up and coming, and I think it makes it really fun. Even like the Red story with Austin Wins. Like this dude was literally a backup catcher for the last 4 years, barely got any at bats, and then he comes out in a game like that. Like that's what I love about baseball. Baseball is the one sport where you can literally be a nobody, play in the minor leagues for 10 years, and then come up and make a difference on a major league ball club. I mean, you don't see that in the NBA, really. You don't see a guy who was a G leaguer his whole career. Like you don't see them coming up and making a difference. In football, you don't really see that. Um, unless I'm wrong, I feel like that's the one. Maybe hockey,
Well,
but
you
for the
got
most
like your
part,
freak incidences like
yeah,
your Jeremy Lin's, but I mean
yeah,
those don't happen all that
yeah.
much.
But in baseball, I mean, even today, I saw something that was like a 5'6" pitcher who played for Division III, who was undrafted, and he just got 2 outs today. Like that to me, those are the stories you don't hear in other sports. You just don't, and that's what makes for me baseball so freaking amazing, and I love it so much.
David Fry in Cleveland kind of had a similar route to the big leagues too. But yeah, I didn't have anything else baseball wise to talk about.
No,
If
yeah,
you
yeah,
had
well, yeah.
anything,
No, I'm good. I'm good. We can move on to an interesting topic that we both talked about before the show that I think could stir some waves, maybe a little bit.
yeah, that's updates on the Imaliavas, right?
Yep, yep, and everything that goes along with it, I should say.
Yeah. So
If
we
you
had
didn't know, if you've been living under a rock,
yeah, we broke down we got enough information to talk about the whole situation on last week's show with Nico Imaliava, obviously trying to get more money from Tennessee. Tennessee basically said thanks but no thanks, we'll release you, and then goes to the transfer portal and not only ends up on a worse program but worse offense
worst
and
coaching staff.
less money. Yeah, so any reason that like they were trying to say that he was trying to leave that wasn't money is just like that didn't check out either. So at UCLA. But in the aftermath of that, he's now going to be joined by his brother, Madden
Who was committed to
Imaliava,
UCLA,
who initially was committed to UCLA out of high school and
signed with
then
Arkansas.
signed with Arkansas, and now has decided to leave, enter the portal before even playing a single game, and is going to UCLA now to team up with his brother. What a headache that's gonna
So it
potentially
really
be
was.
for
It really
Deshaun
was. It must
Foster
have been
out
not. It
there.
must have been his big. The place must have been really bad the first time, but obviously because his brother goes back, it's just an amazing place to go back and play for. Because
It
duh.
is.
God.
The reason that this is getting still talked about, I mean, two brothers link up, I guess, is one thing, but more so because it sounds like Madden took all the NIL money he was supposed to get from Arkansas and is going to be able to pocket that and now go to UCLA and grab whatever the heck money that they're going to give him over there. And Arkansas is kind of like, what the heck? Like, you didn't even play a game for us, and you just basically took advantage of the system. And it sounds like there's going to be some lawsuits going down. And Tennessee, I think I saw from Clay Travis, is going to try to
Yeah,
uh
they
get some
are.
money back from Nico as
Which is
well. But
funny. Which is funny because it means the money that both of them make, they could end up with nothing because they have to give it back to Tennessee and to Arkansas, which would be so funny to me. It would be
yeah,
hilarious, honestly.
yeah, this is something that we haven't seen a ton of yet.
Legislation.
Yeah,
Why you need
Jaden
it?
Rashada is who keeps getting brought up in this, and that was it. I still think that was more so things on
That was a
team
personal
side
thing,
and
I
the
think.
collective
That was
not
a
holding
personal
things
thing.
up. Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, a guy like that that's chasing money around. There's obviously different character qualities that usually come around a guy like that, but Jaden's situation
Hence
was
why he's
like
not on
more
a
so
team
on
right
the.
now.
Well, he's on Georgia, I thought,
No, no, he's in the transfer portal. He has no team. He's
in the
still
portal
just
again. Okay,
he's literally still waiting for a team. He canceled his visit to North Carolina. North Carolina wanted him to come visit, and he's like, no. It's like, okay, then where are you going to go, dude? There's
yeah.
not many places left.
Yeah, the all the money that Florida promised him though they were not going to deliver on, and so he got granted that release initially. And this is a case where it's like these guys are pocketing money and going away, and then it that
Kind of
doesn't
messed
seem
up.
to really be fair. But again, there's nothing you
There's
can do
nothing,
about it
yeah.
because there's no rules basically with the system that we got. And since it's name, image, and likeness, it's like not a salary that you're getting paid out for like a game check or anything like that. And that's the other thing with these NIL checks is like it's is it all money up front that they're
So I think it
getting?
depends. So it depends because I know like Jeremiah Smith, I believe it's over the how many years he's at Ohio State. I believe it's the same. It was the same with like Quinn Ewers. I think Ohio State changed their way. I don't know this, so you can't quote me on this, but like I know like Quinn Ewers got all of his money at once, and then obviously he left, so he got like 1 million or whatever from the Ohio State. Now some guys probably get that in 1 year, but I think for most guys it's like over the time. Like they have to play a certain amount of games, or there's probably little details
Yeah.
that we miss, but it is weird because, for instance, like Madden Imava, this one's a little interesting to me because he left UCLA and there wasn't any reason given, but like obviously it was like he's frustrated with the coaching staff or whatever it might have been, or just didn't want to go. Like, if there's any sellout like idea, like you are such a sellout, like just going back because your brother's there now, like what made the difference for 6 months? Like, what's the difference of the team? There is no difference. It's the same team. It's just because your brother's there, right? And so yeah, and with Nico, like to be honest, like really, dude, you want to go to the Big Ten? Like you want to face Ohio State, Wisconsin, Minnesota, in Wisconsin, in Michigan, Michigan State, like Penn State. Like you want to face these teams for how many weeks of the year? To me, it's just like I feel like one, it's a downward move, and two, like you're making less money in a state, by the way, that has so much taxes. He's going to basically make nothing. And on the other top of that, you're going to have a coach who's still inexperienced and doesn't really, I feel like, know what he's going to do with you. So, to me, I don't get it, and I don't think I ever will. But it is an interesting case of does the government need to step in, or does the NCAA just need to be grown ups and grown men and like actually put big boy pants on and just create something that says these are the rules. You have to follow them. And it's like basically it's like what I tell people is like it's basically like you got into a boat with a hole in it and you said, no worries, it's going to float. It might be a little bit of leakage, but it'll float. And what happens? Over time, the hole gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And now you flooded out your boat. It's starting to sink because why? Because you weren't able to just take the time to repair it the first time. And that's what I'm worried about is happening now.
Yeah. Yeah, the Big Ten schedule, well, UCLA schedule, I should say that he's going to face this year. Out of conference, he's got Utah, so Kyle Whittingham's team. We'll see what version of them we get. They'll be at UNLV. Dan Mullen taking over that program over there, and then they host New Mexico out of conference. But in conference, then they got at Northwestern, host Penn State, at Michigan State, host Maryland, at Indiana, host Nebraska, at Ohio State, host Washington, at USC.
Yeah, he's going to struggle. He's going to struggle.
Well, it's a good thing that he had the SEC schedule last year to prep him playing Alabama
And
and
then get
Georgia and
destroyed at
programs
Ohio
like
State.
that, and then get destroyed by Ohio State again. Yeah, that'll be a fun rematch in November. I'm sure the Buckeyes will be licking their chops at
And in the
that, and I'm
cold,
sure
he
Nico
already
will be
struggled
looking
in the
for a way
cold.
to get out of that game.
Yeah, yeah, just and so yeah. I think basically the reason we bring this up is I think we want to kind of talk about too of how obviously Aguilar, who was from Appalachian State, transferred to UCLA, goes okay. If you're bringing Nico, I ain't staying. So
Yeah.
he actually goes to Tennessee. So basically, it's a trade. You traded QBs probably for less money for Tennessee to pay Aguilar, and to me, it's an interesting move. I mean, I think Aguilar actually is a better quarterback. I think just generally, like at least more veteran and everything, but the question I want to pose to you, and the question I brought up to you before the show was this: is that what is this doing to all these other players? Like, how is this? This is not helping the game. Like, I read someone that said like, what happened to the true college football? Like, college football is gone. Like, and I know that might sound dramatic, but I don't believe I'm stretching that too far. Like, I don't feel like I'm watching college football anymore. Like, we have dudes that are on their sixth school in 5 years. Like, that's not college football. That's just, hey, I'm in the pro league, right? Like, you have
Hmm.
teams like Ohio State who lost no scholarship players to the portal this offseason. You have other teams that are similar, same, Georgia's pretty similar and some other schools, but for the most part, you have a ton of schools losing guys. And so that's my question to you is how do you feel like this is affecting it? And do you think we're ever going to be able to repair it, or is this just the college football we're stuck with?
If nothing changes, I mean, this is what we're going to be stuck with. And I was going to bring up the Ohio State point too, the fact that they didn't have anybody enter the spring portal on scholarship. And I think that just speaks to the way that
The
culture is
culture.
in that
Yeah.
building. And I think the programs across the country, like
Better
I'm
keep an eye
not
on
saying
that.
that these programs didn't lose anybody, but you don't really hear of schools like Georgia getting in drama like this. Right
Texas.
now, with yeah, Texas, same deal. Michigan, we're hearing about Bryce Underwood. We're not hearing about anybody transferring out or any kind of drama with people going over there. So it's like the players in the building. Like these guys, you got to be able to build a culture, and that's the kind of kid that you got to recruit is somebody that's like in it for the development that isn't coming in asking how much playing time they're going to get right away and how much money they're going to get. Like that's the new era that we're in right now. And you're going to see kids that when that's all that matters, they're going to, transfer around because it's like I didn't get to play as a freshman. I'm a four-star player. It's like, yeah, most four-star true freshmen don't
Don't
play
play. Yeah.
their first year. And you want to know how much money you're going to make when you haven't played a single down of football and literally have zero value with your name, image, and likeness at the moment. So the kids that are gonna, or the programs I think that are going to, if nothing changes, that are going to find the most consistency and stick around and win year in and year out are those ones that are recruiting the right kid. And I mean, the way that the portal works now, it makes recruiting hard because you got to really recruit your own team the whole year long too to just get them to stay.
Well,
That
it
was something that Ohio State did really well at last year was after the
got
season
the right
was
guys.
figuring out, well, didn't really attack the portal too much, although they got Judkins and they weren't really even trying to get him. He wanted to go there, and they were like, "Look, if you think you're gonna come over here and, be the main guy over Travion,
You're
like
not going to.
And he was like, it's perfect because I don't want to be. I want to kind of split
I'm
carries.
tired of getting hit.
I'm tired of getting hit. I'm tired of getting over 300 carries at Ole Miss. And so it was a win-win there. But they got all their guys to stay. Uh, and that was like where a lot of their NIL money went, was to guys that are in the building that they wanted to stay, that they thought were key pieces. If nothing changes, yeah, this is what we're going to keep seeing. And if we're going to see any changes, yeah, it's going to take, I think, new leadership, because current leadership has proven that they don't really care. They're going to point to the TV ratings of the playoffs and stuff and be like, "Oh, the sport is so healthy. Look at how many people are watching."
But it
But
doesn't matter.
this
It's
really isn't
vague.
going to be anything that you see until like years of this. Like there's going to be a downstream effect. Josh Pate broke it down. If you have I can't remember what river he pointed to, but like if you start off at like the front of the Mississippi River, let's just say, and dump a bunch of oil and pollutants into the river, and you go to like call somebody at the end of the river and like, hey, have you guys like gotten, dirty water yet? Is your water supply been compromised? And they'll say, no, things look pretty good over here, and that's, hundreds of miles away. But call them up in a couple weeks and see what happens. And I think that's what we've had a couple years of NIL, a couple years of the portal as it is, and we're starting to see these situations now where Nico goes and tries to sit out of a playoff game to get more money, and it ends up backfiring on him. And I hope that ends up being the case, that some of these teams end up putting their foot down. But we are going to continue to see negative downstream effects if nothing changes, and current leadership doesn't seem to care. So it's either going to, like we said last week, take Congress, which I hate that because government never fixes anything, or we're going to have to get new leadership in the building.
Well,
And I don't know which one's more likely.
it's even like also like look, I look at it this way too. Like, look, Ohio State does it great. Whereas like Carlos Loughlin, we talked about this last year. Like he came in and was talking about baking cookies, right? And like how there are certain guys that like you need to be tough. Like you have to be tough. You have to be hard on these guys. They have to understand being developed, right? And you know, I coach right now. I coach wide receivers for my team, and we have a game coming up. And I told these guys last night. I said, in order to succeed, it's not just a process. It's like, oh, we do have one great practice and we move on. It's a development thing. It's what you do off the field. It's what you do on the field. It's what you do with your teammates. And I think what Ohio State, what Texas, what Alabama, what Notre Dame, like what these schools have done over the years is they've said, look, we'll get you to the NFL. We can help you get there, but you have to buy in. And I think the guys who don't buy in are the guys that ultimately transfer. It's the guys that ultimately leave. And I think it shows a lot about character. If you're willing to stay and say, you know what, I'm going to buy in, I'm going to do this 100% of the way. And I think that's awesome. And I think that's what college football should be. And as someone who was on the college basketball scene at Cedarville, like I remember Estep, that was his biggest thing, was like you have to buy into the family and to be there with the family and to learn and to grow and to suffer and to struggle. And I think that's what makes college athletics so amazing, is it teaches you life lessons. Whereas I think in professional sports, it's a lot about who you are, the money, the fame that comes with it. Whereas, yeah, you might get that a little bit in college, but for the most part, it's developing who you are as a player and as a person. And I think at the end of the day, if more coaches can get that as their culture, I mean, you look at Ohio State, the guys they bring in are guys of true quality, not just as a player, but as a person. And I think that is something that I think more schools in every sport need to focus on, because at the end of the day, like you look at Ball State. Ball State decided to drop to Division II. Why do you think they did that?
Hmm.
They did that because why? Probably because they were tired of this politicizing of everything. How much money can I get? How much of the way scholarships are now handled and how you've lost walk-ons. And like, to me, it's like, if I'm some of these schools that are struggling, it's like, why not drop down to D2 and to not have to worry about it as much? So at the end of the day, I think we're in an interesting time. It's going to be hard, but hey, college football fans, keep supporting your team, keep supporting those people that are around the team, and you'll see what happens.
Yeah, just to go one more point, how much money do you think Jeremiah Smith could have gotten had he gone in the portal?
Oh, he could have gotten probably 4 or 5 million easily. I think
Yeah,
per year, easily.
yeah,
It's not even close. But he decided to stay for, I think he's making like 1.9 or 2 million, I think, or something like that.
yeah. I think a guy like Jeremiah is good enough that he can go out and get some of like these bigger like NIL deals, like what the true spirit is, like not just from the Ohio State collective, but from like the bigger brands that want to get him in some of their
But he
ads
says
and
no.
stuff.
He's
But
like,
yeah,
I don't want that. I want to be the best receiver possible. Like you look at even some of these other guys, you know, uh, you look at receiver, even like,
people
some
wanted
of the,
Drake May to go into the portal, and
yeah.
he decided to stay at North
Well,
Carolina.
even like, you look at some of these, then you look at guys like Beck, who's going to Miami making 4.3. And I'm like, why? Like first off, some of these teams have terrible judgments on players. It's just beyond me. But,
Miami
but then,
doesn't seem afraid to throw
but then
checks around, dude.
but also it's confusing too because then you look at North Carolina, they've now lost their two of their best players, their best defensive end might be going to Ohio State, right? Like, so I'm interested to see what Belichick's doing because he seemed to be losing more guys than he's adding, and that should worry you, I think, as a North Carolina fan. And he's going out and getting a guy from South Alabama. Like, why? It's just those kind of things.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that's pretty much the college football scene right
Yes,
now. We will have a depending on when this episode comes out, we're hoping it comes out like around
yes,
draft
it will come
time.
around right
So
before draft starts. Yeah,
today's Wednesday, hoping it comes out before draft
yes.
starts. Not going to make any crazy predictions. We've already made
It's too
our mock
crazy anyway. This is
3.0.
going to be a crazy draft anyways. I can already feel it.
It could be. I'm hearing that the Browns and the Giants are fielding trade offers
Who wants
for
to
the
trade
second and the
up?
third pick.
Like, who wants to trade up? Like, there's
Well, not
nothing
only
really there.
there's not really a whole lot to trade up here, so that's kind of why I'm like, who are you going to take? Like, are you that sold out on Abdul Carter, or is this for a quarterback that someone's going to try to get and reach for, like Shador Sanders? I don't know.
Yeah.
Does someone really want Travis Hunter to play both
Well,
sides and never leave the field?
yeah. That's speaking of the shooter Sanders. That man should have never had his number retired. But that's just me. I think that is Hunter. I understand he won a Heisman, but dude, the dude almost had a worse a losing record, and he got his number retired. Man, I should have got my number retired. Man, I should have got it
13
retired.
wins, no bowl wins. Uh, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It totally just looks
It's
like
called
Deion's
your
just doing it for
dad.
his kid. And
It's called your dad. And I heard
there's
that.
guys like
Did you
Cordell
also
Stewart that people have been bringing up that
yeah.
don't have their number
Did you
retired.
also read the anonymous post by an assistant coach said that Shadur Sanders was the worst interview he's ever seen?
I did
Like
see that.
he's basically basically is just an entitled brat, which
That
duh,
was
we've
a
known that.
report from Tom Pelissaro from
Yeah,
NFL Network, I think. But
we've known
I did
that.
see that. Yeah, they're like, what are some other things? It said simple, like they said, simply put, he's also just not that good,
Yeah,
which I can't get behind that. But everything else kind of like seemed to make
I
sense.
mean
Like
he is.
Shador,
He's entitled, man. Like he's always been that way. He's going to be that. Look at his dad. His dad's always been that way.
I think though that a couple of those things, at least like saying that he's not like I think they said also he's not a team guy. He's about him. It's like he's at Colorado though. Like, and I know his dad's the coach there, but I think if you're all about you and everything, that you wouldn't be at a program like that. You'd be somewhere where you can get protected more.
Yeah,
But that's just me. We'll we'll find out, I guess. We hear a handful of times like Lamar Jackson was the guy that was getting all the hate pre-draft, and CJ Stroud was the guy that was getting all the hate pre-draft, and
yeah.
there always seem and Justin Fields got a lot of hate pre-draft,
They're
and I
saying the
guess
Browns might get Milrow. How do you feel about that? I'm not sold on that one.
see, we just talked about what a scout said about Shadur. I saw another scout say that Jalen Milrow might be the best running quarterback prospect
Yeah,
he's
I saw
seen.
that
He's got
too.
that
Yeah.
power of Cam Newton and the speed of Lamar Jackson, and I'm just like, I've seen all three of these guys play college football, and when I see Jalen Milrow, I don't think
I don't see that at
Cam
all.
Newton and Lamar Jackson won. Like, did you see Lamar Jackson highlights in college? Have you
He
seen
was shifty,
Cam
man.
Newton highlights in college? Like, yeah, Jalen's a freak athlete. He can definitely
It's not
run well,
250
and
pounds.
we saw Jalen's running ability like correlated with a lot of Alabama's success when he would have a good day on the ground. But I'm just like, that's not any of those guys.
Yeah. And
But to
and what's
answer
your
your question, what do I
yeah?
think of Jalen? I don't think Jalen's an NFL quarterback. I think it's a joke that anyone's talking about him going
Will
second or third
Howard, dude.
round.
Why is Will Howard not getting talked more, man? I'm not saying this as a high safety. I mean, generally, I know people look at his Kansas State tape, and I get that. Why don't you look at last year's tape? Because that dude carried the Buckeyes at times, and I just to me like the fact that they talk bad about him. Like, so you're saying you would take Jackson Dart or you take Jalen Milroe over him? It's hard for me to
Yeah, I
believe that. It's hard for
Will
me to
Howard
see
won
that.
a natty, so that's one thing. But yeah, you gotta as a team be like, okay, was that just a one-off year? Was the, I guess, increase in success related to the players around him more so than
Then I look
like
at
him just
everybody in the
finally
NFL,
figuring it
though.
out?
That's the thing,
But
though. Everybody in the NFL's got good players. So if he can do that with good players, then you know it's going to translate. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I don't know.
Tyler Shuck is the guy that I'm seeing get a lot more discussion about.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if he's a late first round pick. And that's another one of them. Like this guy's transferred like 3 or 4 times, I think, or been injured, hasn't really had that
He's like
insane
26, I think, or
success at
something like
college.
that.
Yeah, he's old too.
That
So
always worries me.
that's one where it's like this seems like a forced narrative, but
Yeah. So my other thought is to I'm interested to hear your thoughts. What do you think about Joe Flacco? We really didn't talk about it. What do you think about Joe Flacco coming back? How do you feel? Do you feel like you're okay with that if that's the answer for the Browns?
I don't think that they should have ever let him go. I think the reason that they did is to avoid any kind of controversy between him and Watson. If Watson was struggling, the fans were gonna, be yelling out for Flacco. And as it turns out, that yeah, Flacco won a few games, I think, with the Colts when Richardson was out. Jameis had his moments in Cleveland that were nice, but Watson ended up being injured, ended up being terrible, and it ended up being a
They do
move
need to get
that's
a
like,
running
all
back,
right,
though. They do
yeah,
need to get a running back. Bad.
yeah. Well, I am glad that Flacco's back, and as far as if that's the answer, I don't think it's any kind of long-term answer being as old as he is, but it the quarterback room right now is now Watson, Flacco, and Pickett, and I don't think that any of those guys are any long-term solution either. But when you got a full room like that, I doubt that they draft
I think they
anybody.
draft one. I think they'll
You
draft
think
one.
they do?
Yep. I think they'll go because Watson most likely misses most of the year, if not all year. You put him on IR.
You think they'd
Um,
roster 4 quarterbacks
I think they
this year?
would. I think they would because you put if Watson's on IR for the whole year, then he doesn't count against the roster spot. So you would have three QBs, and I think you just generally want to bring. I think Pickett's a very expendable guy. Like if you bring in a rookie, let's say Watson does on the roster, like I think he's an expendable guy you could trade. I think there's rookies that are at that level of Pickett or a little bit better than Pickett. So I think why not take a shot? Why not get a Will Howard or a Jackson Dart or a Milroe? And Milroe is not great, but take a shot on those guys in the fourth, fifth round, and you never know what you got. Right? Doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I guess it's just because they traded for Pickett. Like I would doubt that they would move on that quick. And since they bring in Flacco back, a guy that's familiar that had some success with the team before, I'm like, I don't think they'd really move on too quick from that. And not a lot of teams really roster 4 quarterbacks anymore. So that's why I'd be still kind of like, okay, I don't really know what we're
They do
doing
need to
here.
draft a running back though. They need to use their top two or three picks, one of those three picks,
That's
with
what
a running
that's what I
back.
would like the second round pick to be.
Go out and get
Most
Judkins
likely
or Travion. I don't
if
care.
Judkins is there, if Trayvon's there, maybe Hampton falls. I don't know, but there's a handful of some solid running backs here, and one of them should be available
Or
at
get an
that
offensive,
second
or get a tackle. If a
round pick.
tackle slips, a first round tackle slips down to the second round, take that too. I'll take
Yeah,
that as well.
yeah. If you can get a guy like Cornerly from Oregon, I think it is.
Yeah, and even
That'd be
like
cool too.
you know, yeah. The one thing I don't want them to do is trading up for anyone. Just let it fall. I mean, you're the
This
second
is
pick in the
not the
second
draft to
round.
trade
Yeah,
up for guys in. Yeah,
yeah. Just let it
yeah.
fall. And but yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm excited for this draft. Just see what the Browns do. I'm excited to see what's going on in the sports world. But I know a
Yeah.
little bit shorter episode this week, but we're gonna have a recap of the draft next week. We're gonna have a lot of other things happening. NBA playoffs will be kind of going
Hopefully
through
by then the
NHL.
Cavs will have completed a
Hopefully,
sweep over the
yeah.
Heat.
Yeah, hopefully by then. And a lot of those things will be coming forth. So it is exciting. Once again, if you've loved watching on YouTube, go click that thumbs up button, subscribe button, hit that notification bell. If you love listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, make sure you share it with your friends and family. As well on the YouTube video, make sure you comment down below. I wanted to hear your comments. Do you believe that the transfer portal should be run by the government or by the NCAA governing body, which is basically the same thing? But I'm interested to hear what you think. Should the government have its legislation or should it be run privately? Interested to hear your thoughts. Let us know down in the comments. I'm sure my dad will have some witty answer. It's going to make no sense. Yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Hope you guys will be able to watch the draft, watch some sports. And until next time, we'll see ya.